E aí pessoal, sejam bem-vindos a mais um episódio da Mavuika no Genshin. Vamos já deixando o like, se inscrevendo, etc, etc. Temos que avançar aqui um pouquinho o relógio só, um pouquinho só. Pra ter o julgamento, vamos ver. Eita, caramba, desculpa, acabei pisando no carro. Nossa. Acontece. Nossa, canseira, gente. Mas tudo bem. Acontece. Vamos lá. Dia seguinte. Quando você acha que vai estar de boa. Tá bom, vira de novo. Quero ver outra vez seus olhinhos de noite serena. Vamos lá, partiu. Agora foi. Nossa, longe? É portar pra fonte, hein? Vamos lá. Infelizmente a gente não conseguiu a arma da Furina, né? A menos que dê um grande clutch hoje, mais um sumo aleatório e a gente consiga. Qualquer coisa eu vou começar a juntar pra Zilonen, então... Entrou. Pelo menos não ativou a cena direto, que às vezes isso dá um susto pra mim quando começa a cena direto. Pronto. Chegamos voando na motoca.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Meu Deus, isso vai dar do que falar.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, Is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen,
Eu posso simplesmente falar só, botar qualquer coisa aqui? Não, tem que ser a minha vez, entendi.
allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Indeed, it seems his alibi can also collapse in the blink of an eye. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Fatui, por quê?
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy. Oh, good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Furina doidona.
Why didn't you tell us this before?
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true? Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry.
Não confia em Fatui.
They're true, Your Honor.
Não confia em Fatui. Foram eles, já acabou. Acabou, perdeu.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
É, tô com você.
Granted.
É o pior que eu tenho que defender esses aí. A defesa não pode
In
continuar.
that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
Defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought.
Eu tenho que seguir o roteiro, Furina.
My dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Ai, Furina, se você não tivesse certa... Porque eu falo, é Fatui, entendeu? Não vou dar perdão pra Fatui, desculpa. Pode até vocês não serem culpados, mas deve ser culpado de uma outra coisa.
Well,
brincadeira,
this
gente.
is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Brincadeira, vamos, se não é inocente desse, a gente procura o que vocês são culpados depois.
Paimon just knew where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad.
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Perdoa não, mas vamos ser profissionais, vai.
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now.
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh? Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Legal. Tem que defender o inimigo. Continuar o julgamento, bora.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Lá vamos nós, então. Brincar de Ace Attorney. Eu nunca joguei Ace Attorney. Como você espera que eu jogue isso aqui direito?
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of
Não, não,
events?
pode prender. Brincadeira.
Refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Linney experienced and what he saw.
Ok. Procurar a contradição. Quer votar?
Seems this won't produce a particularly effective rebuttal.
É tentando um de cada vez. Ok. É o vestido? Ah, tá, beleza. Ah, pensei que eu poderia. Aê.
According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
Interessante. Vamos procurar contradição 2. Esse aqui já foi usado. Não.
Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Não?
Linney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Kale.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say!
Nossa.
into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent.
Bom! Equilíbrio. Refutada! Coitada da Furina.
Paimon actually managed to say all that. Oh, wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right.
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
Nossa, é essa, sério?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? Paimon thinks there's something off here.
O bom é que realmente, né? Calma aí. Irrelevante, relevante, relevante. Irrelevante, relevante. Irrelevante.
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such
Au! É, eu gostei desse jeito que tô fazendo a Florina.
If it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
O assassino foi. Tcharatão. Uhum.
Could there have been a third person involved? Is that really a possibility?
Erro na hipótese. Então é um dos dois, tá bom. Eu vou apostar no cara, vai.
Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Vamos lá. Dedução correta. É.
That can't be right. Are you serious? The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? How Interesting. Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. So, there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. So, where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey?
Vou chutar esse aqui.
The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal.
Escolhe. Não, erramos. Ah! Tá bom.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal.
Tá, beleza, esse aqui.
The sound we
Ah,
heard
tá, é agora que eu vi as frases em cima, eu tô olhando mais pra baixo.
The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the
Não, erro na hipótese. O último.
Halsey's clothing was.
Não.
It would have been tough for both people.
Erro na hipótese.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff. And here I thought you had something to show for it. But it seems you're still far from the truth.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
Ow.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Objection!
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a.
Tá bom.
The deceased's name is Cal.
Essa parte já vimos.
The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence. The water.
Gale! Vamos lá. Tá bom. Dedução correta.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Oh, just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick. Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about two completely different things.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased Cowell.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea?
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
Huh. If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results. But we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Cobrem só suspeito. Ok, vamos ler.
His name is Cowell.
Tá bom, fazer.
Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire... I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that... Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. Did she have something to do with this? The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey entered the magic box. The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and cut. As such, the focus here is on the water and not the tank. Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead some form of triggering mechanism. The water from the primordial...
Acorda.
The rope that strung the water...
Não, erramos o último item. Ok.
Lynette was in the magic box on stage.
Não.
I remember this.
Essa aqui. Perfeito. Já que eu vou ter que continuar, vamos continuando até terminar a cena, né, gente? Nossa.
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowl would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Wow.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic to have your own counterattack only to come back and wound you. Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close.
Implantaram.
Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the vent.
Ok, vamos lá.
Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowl then caused Halsey to vanish using the water from the primordial sea. But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowl out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a murder weapon. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the cold-blooded and ruthless organization. Am I right, Mr. Linny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here. Is this the end of the road?
Ferrou.
Oh no! Paimon can't think of anything either. It doesn't look like there's any way around this. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this have to happen now?
I think we've all seen enough now, and we have ample witnesses to my flawless reasoning. I believe this is indeed the finale. Now
Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice, should we not, in your view, move...
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout, and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes. Please, do the honors, Mr. Linney, if you would be so kind.
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Famoso lip sync falhando.
Don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating illusion. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Lenny and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasula has made the necessary arrangements on your behalf. But, as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance to you.
I understand.
And voila!
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me, and then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowl. I admit it.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket, so I stole one. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there, and I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief! Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee, but then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear it. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lilian's perspective.
E lá vamos nós. Só foi um pouco. Não. Vamos tentando tudo até conseguir alguma coisa. Acho que essa primeira não vai dar em nada, né?
The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lily-Ann's attempt to break out when she was frightened. The flower vase.
Ok.
Lily-Ann was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biding her time. Just.
Ok, fechou.
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of the blue, Lily-Ann panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lily-Ann had not dissolved. He did not know that Lily-Ann was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lily-Ann back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lily-Ann came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
Equilíbrio. Refutada! Ai, meu Deus.
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the Opera House these last 2 days.
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have now come to light.
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Bravo! Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements? Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
Não seja uma perdedora.
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow. Look at that. She's like a deflated balloon now.
Relaxa, ninguém sabia
If there are no
que...
objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box, and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lily-Ann was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lily-Ann. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus ignorant of these happenings. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny, the accused, is in fact innocent. While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision. As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Not guilty. Hey!
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Linny's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery, but false evidence that you dared to bring before this court?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking about.
Eita.
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness. I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's true, but...
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Linny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me.
Vambora.
But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui. I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
A knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing the
Agora
story?
não, por favor.
It's about my past.
Não, não.
Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's bedroom and asked him about her whereabouts. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of who your assistant is, yes?
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in, all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans.
Taradão.
Father, I mean, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. Everyone at Hotel Bouffe d'été, including the knave, has their roots in Fontaine, and we will always defend our homeland. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
It's all right. I understand. The only thing I can do is relate all this to you. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do my best to help you, as plain Linny.
Tchau.
Bye, Linny.
Tchau, tchau, tchau. Vambora. Acho que a gente terminou o capítulo, né? Pior que a gente vai ter que continuar mais um pouco, porque eu vou ter que sair, então. Ai, meu Deus.
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Don't you think so, too? Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades now? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the Hydro Archon people to follow now, right?
Ah. I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little shocked to hear that from you. But I suppose you are just travelers who have only arrived in Fontaine after all. Sorry. I might have been too presumptuous.
Don't say that, Navia.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to become clearer. Well, sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to nostalgia. Don't mind me. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal? You know, to commemorate our time as partners?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal? Well, guess you really did treat us as partners, huh?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later. Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm. If Boss Navi is treating, count Paimon in!
Oh, wonderful. In that case, why don't we return to the Court of Fontaine and head to the Hotel de Boer? I believe we'll make it just in time for dinner.
All right then, let's have our farewell meal.
Finalmente, atum completo. Aê. Meu Deus. Expedições, aê, caramba. A gente tá precisando disso aqui. Ah, vamos resgatar a recompensa já nesse vídeo mesmo. Não sei porque tá mandando a gente pra Monde, mas vamos pra lá, por que não? Por que não? A moça era de Monde, por que não? Vamos lá. Vamos lá, é a nossa última tentativa na arma da Mavuika. Não, na arma da Furina, calma, desculpa. Add Astra Bisask, ok. Obrigado. Tchau. Vamos ver o que a gente consegue fazer aqui. Putz. Ah, tem as conquistas, vamos ver as conquistas também. Mas, infelizmente não foi nessa. Tem as conquistas pra dar uma bisoiadinha. Maravilhas do mundo, resgata, resgata. Ora. Nossa, por 12. Bom, infelizmente não deu, gente. Infelizmente não deu. Vamos ter que deixar pra uma próxima. Ah, a gente espera mais um rerun. De qualquer forma, vamos ficando por aqui. Não se esqueça de deixar o like, se inscrever, etc, etc. Vamos dar glória então à senhorita Navia que ajudou a gente a virar o jogo. E até o próximo vídeo.